All right. Test, test,
Test.
test. Okay. All right. So our idiot inquiry here, guys. It's not about orgasmic meditation, although maybe it should be. Maybe it should be.
It should be.
Yeah. So there was a TikTok video that went viral recently. There's a 22-year-old kid that he was conducting uh, a job interview on video, and when she asked him about working on the weekend, he basically declined it because his working on the weekend is so basically he kind of hung up on the call or something like that. So the video went viral. Now, Dean, you pointed out that since then he did mention that it was an acted out video. It wasn't a real interview.
No. That's not true.
Okay.
It was a real video on her side. Like the person, like he really was
But
doing
he
an
acted out. Gotcha.
Right. He did not like he
It was
went
like a
in
Borat
there.
thing.
Correct.
Like where like they don't
I
know
see.
that he's not being, but he
Went in there 100% knowing that he was going to turn down the job and do this bit about needing my weekends and stuff.
Okay. Okay. So it did bring up the question, though. So all this was kind of a bit on his part. Still, the way that
I'm sure it's happened.
I'm sure it's happened. We know right now in the United States, there's a lot of job openings. A lot of places are having difficulty in finding
place
workers.
that doesn't that isn't hiring is the place that's making the sign saying "Help Wanted."
That's about right. Yeah, that's right. So it did bring us a question. So is the younger generation too entitled? Do they expect too much? Do they have too much of a expectation on quote unquote home life balance to where they don't think that they should accept a job and have to work weekends or perhaps undesirable shifts? Yeah, certainly, definitely in my time, and even your guys' times as well, we did not have that luxury. We took a job knowing that you got to pay your dues. I have worked plenty of shifts that I hated.
In your time, you put the stone tablet in the pterodactyl's mouth, and he chomped down on it, and looked at the camera and said, "It's a living."
That's right. That's right. I slid down the dinosaur tail out of the rock quarry.
You were really good at that.
Yep, when the whistle. Yep, Mr. Slate, one of the best bosses in my time. No, but it's like I had to work plenty of shit. I had to work weekends. I've had to work midnight shifts, just because it's an opportunity, and you're trying to get out of that shift. And the way you get out of that shift is you try to make something of yourself, and you work hard, and you get to move your up in that place. Yeah. Where you develop tenure to get out of a shift that's not as desirable for the next new person to come in, and or you gain more skills and you move on to another place where you're trying to, work into a shift that's more desirable for you. And not a lot of young people these days don't seem like that's something that they even think that they should have to do or need to do. So is it the younger generation? What is it? So what's causing all this stuff to where younger people don't feel like no one wants to work the weekend for the most part. I mean, who wants to do that really? Not many people do. Some people may prefer to have the middle of the week off or something for other reasons, but I don't know. What are your thoughts on it? Is it the generation behind us that's screwed up, or what's going on? Go ahead.
Well, before you and I get dangerously close to just being the old men yelling at clouds,
okay.
Let's take into consideration the idea of that this isn't the 1950s, where a guy works himself in a coal mine or works himself at an advertising agency or, wherever for 40 plus hours, comes home, drinks mass amounts of bourbon and, smacks around his wife and kids. You know what I mean? Like, what jobs had done throughout history to people, oh, my grandfather did this, my grandfather did that. but we don't know what their personal lives were, right? Maybe they have a point. Like, why can't we be selective? If you financially can do it, why wouldn't you be selective?
Yeah, at the end of the day, I mean, it's if you choose not to take a job that has undesirable, shifts or wages for you, and you're in a situation where you're not going to starve or not have a place to live by doing so, then that's kind of like your situation. I mean, you know what I mean?
Why just because everybody else had shitty lives, do you have to have a shitty life just because it just was always that way? That doesn't make sense for anything. Just to go through something horrible because other people did in the past when you don't necessarily have to. If you don't have to, does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Like, I get paying your dues, and paying your dues comes more of the idea of like a career. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But if you're 23, 24, just out of college or in college, and you have the means to not take a weekend shift because you don't want to, and you can get away with that, fuck, why not?
Yeah.
You're going to work weekends because I tell you to. Do you know how many, and I know that I don't know a whole bunch of them, but like, for example, fast food restaurant like managers. And I'm sure the majority of them are lovely people that are listening and enjoying this podcast. But there's a lot of real pieces of shit out there that because their life didn't go as planned and that's where they ended up, they take it out on teenagers and yell at them and berate them. I've seen it while you're in as a customer. There was one time I'm standing there waiting for at a fast food restaurant, and this big fat slob piece of shit was just yelling at this little girl. And she's just almost in tears, and he's just berating her in front of a dining room full of customers. And I had just come. Speaking of what you said before, I had just come from third shift. I just come from work, so I'm tired. I just want to breakfast and get the hell home to sleep. And I was annoyed enough to where I just yelled out to him. I said, "Hey, why don't you fucking cool it there, bud?" He turns around. "Sir, this is..." I said, "No." I said, you are yelling at this little girl, I don't know, to maybe make yourself feel better while all of us are waiting for our fucking food. I said, why don't you go back into the fucking office and let her do her job and so we can get our fucking food? And he grumbled, slammed the door, and left her to the thing. But why does somebody have to go through that and have to experience that if they don't have to? Why do these kids have to experience this Karen yelling at her about cheese at a fucking Chipotle if they don't have to? If you can get away with it, sure. You don't have to eat shit and pretend to like it just because your dad did.
I see that side of it too. I mean, I talk with other guys. Actually, that's just Keith and Skinner on the Came from the Next Pocket. Some of their logic is people don't want to work. All these young people, they don't want to work, and I'm like,
that's a cop out.
I said, you want to work that job? You can work that job if you want to. I don't want to work that job. I don't want to work in a place like that and have to work all crazy hours and things like that either. And
if you can get away with it.
Now, if I need to put food on the table and that's all I got to do temporarily, then sure, I should. That's the difference there too. That you should not expect, the government or somebody to pay your way if you are able to work just because you choose. You're saying that, though. You're not certainly suggesting that. We should pay people's way that just simply don't want to work a shift that's not as desirable for them.
No,
you're saying,
I'm saying if you have other means, correct. If you can viably live between until you find the right job that you want with whatever qualifications you're looking for. That's what not a lot of people consider, especially back in the day when we were going out and getting jobs. That job interview should honestly be going both ways. They
sure.
should be really interviewing to you as well.
Of course. Yeah. Make it a place that's desirable. You want to work there, not
Right,
just
and that's what this lady
you
was
getting a
amazed
job.
on this TikTok that you were talking about. She was flabbergasted that somebody, you don't want to, no, this is what it is. You don't want to work here. I'm offering you this. No,
Right.
it's not really my bag.
It's
I
not
don't
what I want,
need
though.
it.
It's not what I'm looking for, right?
Right.
Yep.
So she should have been trying to sell her job as well as him selling himself.
Mm-hmm.
That's just my opinion.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Nick, any other thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, also I think something to keep in mind too is that like Dean said, it's definitely like time relative, right? Jobs don't necessarily look the same as they used to. You know what I mean? You can go into a job interview and you might turn down a job because you don't want to work weekends or you don't want to do this or that, but you may have the ability to work from home or not leave, you know what I
Right.
mean? Have more time to yourself by maximizing yourself, from working from home or whatever. Things like that. Things look different. You know what I mean? Like there's just things are not necessarily set up the same way. Also, lazy people and people not wanting to work is not a new thing.
That's
They
correct.
existed when Brian was a young man. They existed
That's
when
right.
your Brian's father was a young man. Like that's not a new development. There have always been lazy people that don't want to work, or people that might have a hard-working job but don't work hard at them. You know what I mean? Like, with all that being said, I mean, I don't know. I think it's easy, and I think it kind of goes that way. And I'm not saying that that's what what Brian's doing with this or anything, but some people might look. It might be easy to look at a young person and go, "Well, you're young and you've got energy, and like you could do this, you could do that." Well, yeah, that's true. But also, I mean, I think it's easy to just cast that on someone else and not know their position or not. Like I said, things are just look different than they used to. That being said, there are also, like I said, it's not a new development, and they do still exist today where people will do what they can to do the bare minimum at their job. Or, you know what I mean? They show up, but
I used to work with Nick. I know that that's the case.
Because I, you know what I mean? That's something that my parents they never called off work. They were work every day that they were able to. They worked hard, and some days they hated their jobs, and some days they didn't. But at the end of the day, I always kind of took that mentality. When you're busy, you work harder, and when you're not as busy, you know what I mean. But like Dean said, you don't have to.
Nick is on that pole from the start of his shift
with tears in my eyes, but I'm grinding. All right, because I have to
until that whistle blows. Then he does. Go ahead.
That's fair. That is correct. But yeah, that's important to keep in mind is that we've been conditioned a lot to think that, well, if we're working our asses off and we're miserable at work and we hate it, that means we're working hard and we're earning our money and we've done a good job. That's not necessarily the case. We have evolved and understood that there is more value to your life. There's such a thing as going home from work and not being miserable, not taking work home with you, being able to enjoy your life and leave work at work. So it's a healthy balance. Obviously, you want people who are going to be driven, going to be hard workers, going to take pride in their job, but also understand that their job is not their life. So there is a healthy balance in between there, in my opinion. So, just to bring it full circle, like I said, unlike that sentence, to bring it full circle, I mean, if you had the ability to pass up on a job because it wasn't exactly what you're looking for, and you feel pretty confident you can find something else, I think that's totally rational. Yeah. So, Brian, how about yourself?
No, I agree with you guys. I mean, I did that, and this has been a few years ago, and I was laid off at a place. And matter of fact, Dean, it was I'm pretty sure it was during the stint where you and I worked together, and we were both laid off. Yeah, this is when we were all laid off. We were all laid off.
That one. Okay.
At that point, and I was looking for work for a few months there, and I was offered a job, and you're tempted just to take it, but the job, the hours were horrible. It was like working till midnight, every night of the week. I just knew I would have been a miserable person,
right,
taking that job. So I decided to pass and bet on myself and keep looking.
There you
And
go.
I wound up getting something, at least better hours at the time, which eventually got me into where I'm at now, where I'm much happier. But
This
yes,
podcast?
yeah, of course. That's right. That's right. So
Horrible working conditions, though.
yeah, terrible.
Not good.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
for me, I'm not going to stop until I find just, I have a list of demands of like for the proper glory hole, and until I find that one that meets all of them, I'll keep looking.
That's right.
Test all of them if you have to.
Yep.
You got to.
Mm-hmm.
This is about me and my happiness.
I never worked as hard for a company as I did for Orgasm Incorporated.
Right.
It's a lot of hard work.
Communication.
Very, very hard work.
Yeah. So good. Good discussion, guys. I think we're all on the same page here. Basically, we don't think youth is necessarily lazy or not willing to pay their dues,
right?
Or it's just like you say, if you could swing it and you kind of bet on yourself and you keep looking for a better opportunity that's a good balance for you, then do it. But if you can't, don't expect a handout. You may have to work a job for a while you may not like as much, or hours you may not like as much, to make ends meet and make it work for you until you find something else. So there you go. Yeah.
I don't know about you guys, but I sure am glad that idiot made that inquiry.
That's right.
Yeah. I'm testing it out. See how it fits.
That's right.
Back to the glory hole thing. There you
go. Right.
That's it.
Hey, Team with Convincing Idiots. Brian and Nick here. Like and subscribe.